To get a little bit higher. 28 degrees is where I'm aiming for. Barbara said 25 degrees and she's won so far. We don't want that. Just up a little bit, Mother Nature. Let's get there. Monday, April the 11th. And you're right here at Galaxy. Tell you what, let me do this.
Galaxy.
That's right, you're right here at Galaxy 107 FM. God, and welcome along everybody that's joining us live on Facebook Live right now. So happy to have you guys along. I really am. Because believe me, today, and you know, I'm kind of fascinated by this young man's music. I really am. As soon as I heard it, I had to be a part of it. And, well, would you believe I actually heard his music for the very first time on Tim Steinreich's interview. The Don Pierce show. Believe me, had to get involved. Really did. So today, Kris Anders is joining us. Kris spelt with a K too, by the way. He's one of these modern guys. He really is. So I tell you what, I want to let you know how happy we are to be in association with Rise Up TV, Big Record, and of course Sony Music, The Orchard. Check this out.
Another indie artist interview brought to you by Galaxy 107 FM in association with Rise Up TV, Big Record, and Sony Music The Orchard.
So how are you feeling, Kris? You okay?
Yeah, I'm all good. Yeah.
Nice. Do you need a stiff drink or anything?
No, I don't drink too much these days.
Okay. Well, as I said, if you need a psychiatrist, we can put you in touch with one. Well, that's really. How many cities are on board this morning? How many countries?
Hey, Donnie.
Just check that on the stats for me, please. Donnie Coulter's online. Hello, Don. Nice to have you back, my bro. And Sean Simpson. Sweetie, you followed my example. I asked you to come and join us earlier on at the last interview. Thank you for joining us. Believe me, you're going to love this artist today. His name is Kris Anders. And believe me, I was taken by his music right away. Now, believe me, in 40 years as an engineer, a studio engineer, and, well, you know something? It's not often I find a band that I absolutely am interested in. 514 countries are joining us this morning. Welcome. Nice to have you on board. That's not bad, Kris. 514 countries are on board right now.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's awesome.
Because we are a global station. We are everywhere.
That's fantastic.
Literally, and I'll let you know how many cities, and believe me, how many are online at the end of it. I won't give it to you now because it just grows exponentially, it does.
That's great. That's really cool.
But believe me, you're going to be a superstar by the end of the day.
Okay, let's go for it.
And at the same time, I don't know whether Tim's talked to you about this, but we would like to put you into a magazine that we have connections with over in India, if you know what I mean. Jay literally, he comes from an area of about, 8 million people? Mm-hmm. Something like that. And I'm sure he knows each and every one by first name. He's a very popular man, he is. Anyway, let's go to the desk and have some fun. I'll apologise now, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
Jill's online.
That's right, you're right here at Galaxy 107 FM. Hey, from the Okanagans. Well, Kris Anders, believe me, I was talking to a couple coming out of Saskatchewan, the Okanagans, just prior to coming up with you. They called Moving Lines, Jill and Kevin Fye. Absolutely fantastic. I told them that I was going to be talking to you, not going too far today. We're staying in the Okanagans. Welcome to Galaxy, Kris.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me on.
It is an absolute pleasure. It really, really is. I see Terry Van Cannon's on board as well. Nice to have that man on board. Literally, slide steel guitar master coming out of North Carolina. Nice to have you on board, Terry. Now, Kris, believe me, I was fascinated with the interview that you did with Tim Steinrach in the Don Pierce show and everything like that, and picked up on a lot of information from that interview. I really did. But believe me, I got the book, the bio. Kris, it really doesn't give me a lot of information, and I really want to get to know you a little bit more. So let's start at the start. How long have you been in the game?
Well, I started out just like a lot of people do, and when I was a kid, my mom wanted me to learn an instrument, and I was in grade 2 or something like that, and all of my classmates would seem to be getting into piano lessons at the time. And I was like, I don't want to do piano, I want to learn guitar. So she actually, I think she was a little happy about that, because the guitar was probably several $100s less than a piano was. So I started going to take lessons in a nearby town called Swan River where we grew up, and we just went from there. Quickly realized that I wasn't going to be a lead guitar player, though, and I started just learning chords and started listening to songs I was hearing on the radio and then singing along to them, and then quickly transitioned sort of into more of the singer-songwriter throughout high school and those years as well. So that's how it started.
I can relate about the piano. Believe me, my auntie tried to teach me that as a young nipper, but my cousin was actually playing saxophone, right? And I was bored sitting there playing the piano. My cousin said to me one day, come on down to the pub with me, we're doing a gig tonight. And I'm thinking, this is, why not? I've got nothing else to do. I could go to the movies with the girls or something like that. No, I'll go to the pub with... So he snuck me into the pub. Believe me, I was only 12 years of age. And he gets up there with this band, literally just killed it on the sax. All these girls everywhere. I was sold. I wanted to do that too.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, unfortunately, my career ended up being a studio engineer and a front of house engineer. I've travelled around the world with some of the biggest bands in the world. I've got to be honest with you. But, well, I'm a legend in my own bedroom when I play the guitar, okay?
Yeah, right. Yeah, okay.
I leave it to the people that can actually do it, much like yourself. Now, we kicked off the show with Shattered. Now, believe me, I'm loving this track. I want to know everything about it, and believe me, everybody has been requesting it since we started playing. Didn't say anything to anybody, just played it, dip the toe in the water, see what the reaction's going to be. And, well, so far, we've had 891 requests, so it is climbing. It's starting to gain a little bit of interest, but believe me, your second track, you'll be more interested in those stats. But tell me about Shattered. How did this come around? What's the lyrics about?
Well, so as we kind of talked off screen a little bit, my former career was actually a police officer. So I worked for 3 different police agencies over the course of 21 years. I started out in Manitoba, working in a First Nations community, and then moved over to the city of Regina, which is in Saskatchewan. Met my wife there, my future wife, and then we moved out to the west coast of British Columbia, and I was working for the RCMP, which is Canada's federal police force. And so just shy of 3 years ago, I was still working for them, and I ended up in a very violent situation where I was okay, everything worked out, but at the end of it, I was injured, and I had to go in and get assessed. It was something that was wrong with my back. So through the course of that assessment, it was determined that I was no longer going to be qualified to work on the front lines. And we decided at that point, it's rather sudden change and everything. My whole world was shattered, right? So I ended up taking an early retirement and moving on to a completely different chapter in life. I mean, going from the stable income and a career that I was starting to climb into a little bit, and came to a sudden stop. So I'd always been doing music. I'd never been at the forefront of it. I'd been managing my wife's career, that type of thing, producing, looking at executive producing, booking tours, all the stuff in the background. All of a sudden now it was maybe my turn to step up. And Shattered was one of the first songs that I wrote. And it really goes into that whole transition when your whole life is completely shattered in front of you. And so that's what it is. I mean, those opening lines, I can barely look at you. Like, it's dealing with the overwhelming situation of these institutions, and you become a faceless person sometimes in these institutions that you once worked for, you once thought you were part of it, and all of a sudden it's gone. So just one night I came up with that. I always had those words in the English language, and Shattered's one of them, that immediately bring you to a visual image when you say it. And I thought that's a really strong word and something I want to build a song around. So I came out, I had the chorus done in about 5 minutes, and in the next couple of weeks just worked at the verses where I wanted to go with it, and that was it. That's how Shattered came to be. And I walked into a studio and did it that spring, just a few months after I wrote it, and started this whole course.
Now, tell me, Kris, did you do it in a home studio, or did you get it done in a professional studio?
Well, eventually it was done in a professional studio. So I worked with Andrew Smith, Lake Studios in Kelowna, BC, which is just south of Vernon, where I live. One of the funny stories, though, about that was this was in I wrote this in February 2020. And we all know what happened in March. It was completely shut down. So I stood up and video recorded myself. I didn't have any recording equipment here at all at the time. I mean, I was just starting to get into this. And so I did a video recording of me just playing it on my acoustic guitar, and I sent the movie to Andrew. So we didn't even meet in person at first. And he took the scratch tracks based on that recording, and he started to build a bit of the track, and we started to work at it remotely, because he wasn't even allowed to have artists into his studio at the time. And then things opened up. I think it was end of June. So in Canada here, things were kind of opening, and we've been on this roller coaster. So I finally got in to do the lead vocals and a little more of the guitar work later into that. And that's how that all came together. It was the most bizarre, strange situation I had been involved in with a studio, working remotely like that. So it was quite an experience.
You know, and I got to let you know, Jill Fye says, we're not that far away. We're in Summerland. So you might be able to relate there, if you know what I mean. To me, I'm in the Bay of Plenty here in New Zealand, so it's a little further away, Jill. Really. But believe me, I love Jill. I really, really do, and Kevin as well. He's also an engineer extraordinaire. And believe me, as an engineer, I've been an engineer now for almost 40 years. And as I say to you, I've worked in some of the best studios, not only here in New Zealand, but around the world, and worked with some of the biggest bands in the world. As a front of house engineer as well, travelled around with quite a few bands. So believe me, when I hear a band and I like a band, believe me, it's unwavering. It's unfathomable how much I stick behind it. And as soon as I heard your work, Kris, I wanted to know more, which is unusual. It really is, because I hear music every day. I hear bands every day. Not often does something stand out, much like your work. So I've got to applaud you on that. I really do.
Oh, very humble. Thank you for that.
Having said that, of course, I still wanted to do something with you. The Tim Steinreich did as well. So, you know, we're
He's such a great guy.
Yeah, believe me, I love Tim. I really, really do. Especially his Easy Top stuff as well. You know what I mean? But I love him in the Mighty One as well. So, you know, absolute superb artist, superb host as well. He really, really is. And I know he's got a show coming up very shortly. Enjoy that. Having said that, my friend, Donny Coulter says Canada freedom. Yep, fair enough. Absolutely. And right there with you, bro. How did we get here? Now, this one, and believe me, bro, before I ask that, actually, Ronnie from down South Island here in New Zealand, we're made of 3 islands. I'll let you know about that very shortly. But Ronnie from a place called Greymouth in the west coast of the South Island is asking, as a fan, how do we get hold of you, Kris? Are you on Facebook? Are you on Twitter? Are you on Instagram? Are you a talker? And do you respond?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I've got a website. It's krisanders.com. Just start there. It's got all my links. I'm most active on Facebook. Twitter, I'm on there, but I usually tend to use that to follow curators and playlists, and even the COVID news. That's how I started on Twitter. Even was like, what's going on? And then I'm on Instagram as well. So those are the 3 social media platforms that I'm using right now.
Now,
That's such a reply.
at the same time, Kris, on your website, do you have a merch store? Can we go and buy product there?
Yes, I've got coffee mugs.
I tell you what, I'm going to hit you up with one of those, or 3 of those actually.
Yeah.
Believe me, the staff here would love some. But at the same time, you know, if you've got a T-shirt, send one my way. I'll tell you why, because even today, Sonny Rosa, isn't it? Believe me, he's got a studio of his own coming out of Canada as well. Absolutely stunning man, and does some great work. He really does. So, you know, subconsciously, vicariously, people actually look at what I'm wearing, and before you know it, they're on the interwebby thing, checking out the details and everything like that. Normally I'm wearing an artist, but today I just thought I'd put on Sonny Rosa's one, because he is a good friend of mine as well. And people go and have a look. Before you know it, they're finding out who you are, going to your merch store, everything like that, and, well, you might have sold another 20 cups. I'm sorry to hear that you actually respond to people. Believe me, you're going to have another 5,000 Facebook fans in no time. You'll be there all day, literally. You'll get no work done. But having said that, and you did mention the inevitable COVID kind of deal, since the COVID hit, have you been doing more writing, recording, or, you know, just sitting back watching, see what's happening? We'll sit on one song every now and again and plan on doing something very shortly. What are you up to these days?
Well, that's what I did when COVID hit and shut everything down. Is I ended up in the studio. I did 3 songs, so you've heard the first 2. But a third one, it's actually a cover. So I'm working on the mechanical license at the moment, just to get the clearance on that. And I do plan on doing 3 more. The plan is to have a 6-song EP ready for probably the end of the year. I quit making predictions because every time I make a timing announcement, I'm vastly off because of what's been going on with shutdowns. I do see the light at the end of the tunnel is quite broad now. We are opening up. I'm booking shows this summer, so we're out there doing that. But that was what happened. Is I decided I wasn't playing live. There was no opportunities to do that. I was relatively new to the area as well, so it's hard to get into the local music scene and meet people behind a screen. So I went in and did the work in the studio, and that was just made sense at the time to get some of that original material recorded and out there. So that's how that went.
Now, I got somebody here called Mohello, I think it is, Mojello.
Yeah, he's one of Marvin's. He's from
He's from Uganda, is he?
No,
Mojello, is that right? Is Kris open for collabos?
Yeah,
So,
collaboration.
yeah, believe me, I'm sure we can put you in touch. We really can. So, Kris, believe me, we have people from around the world right now watching this, wanting to know if we can work with you, if we can do something in the future. Believe me, they all look. We have people online right now that have venues, that are promoters, that are labels, that including Lisa Saunders is on, from Rise Up TV, big record. Believe me, it's an absolute pleasure to have her online as well. It really is. And pass love on to Pamela and Mark and everybody there, and including Don. I hope he gets well soon. I really do. Marion Maxwell's online as well. Nice to have you on board, co-star. Yeah, it is nice to have you back, my friend. Young lady that I actually went to school with way back in the day. She got in touch with me. She goes, Grant, nice to be in touch with you. You're one of the few people from my town that actually did something with themselves. So, okay, fair enough, I'll take that one. Hi from New Zealand. Now, Kris, how did we get here? Now, tell me about this, because believe me, I got you playing. I literally play this in my car.
Great, yeah.
Tell me about it.
Well, it's actually one of the first songs I wrote. The version you're hearing has been rewritten. But my wife and I were living on the Sunshine Coast of BC. And for those who don't know, there's actually a Sunshine Coast in Australia, totally different area. This is just north of Vancouver on the mainland. But the only access is by a ferry. And it's a community that's full of writers, artists, musicians, songwriters. It's a real mecca for music. And I mentioned my time, Deanna Cartier is my wife. We recorded an album back in 2010, 2011. So she was the image that we were putting out, but I was working behind the scenes, and she was kind of pulling me into the songwriting a little more. I was doing poetry at the time. So we were getting into these groups, the Dutton Circle, Clay, if you're out there, how's it going? They were pulling us in, and they were doing original songs and some folk music. And so what everybody was doing was kind of bringing a song every week to this group, and it was this was my first song that I introduced to the group and to some of the people I was working with, and I played it through, and they just sat back and go, wow. They couldn't believe it. So I said, I think I got a good song here. The chorus has never changed. And I've actually done 2 or 3 demos with that song and sent them out. But I started, again, with the COVID shutdown, I started playing it again and wanted to rewrite it, make it a little more accessible to radio. And so those verses now, they're done under the context of lockdown. So what I'm saying, I don't know what the truth is. What are the lies? That's the confusion I think that I'm talking about, and it can relate to everybody in the world who went through that. So I rewrote it, and that was definitely a song I needed to record. It was the second song I recorded in the studio, and it had to get out there, and it's always resonated with people, and so that's how it came out.
Kris, I've actually got a couple of people here who are asking basically the same question. One is Shannon coming out of Toronto, the other is Mark coming out of Ottawa, and they're saying, Kris, are you looking at getting back on the road soon? Are we looking at tours? Can we come and see you soon?
Yes. I've got a show booked in Armstrong, BC, July 29th. I've got a solo show here in Vernon, May 27th. And just this week, we were looking at doing an interior BC 3-day tour in the summertime. We're not quite sure. We're looking at July 22nd, but very tentative for that. So here in BC, things have opened up. No one knew quite what was going on until about even 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. And since then, I'm starting to get traffic coming to the website and asking for shows and getting that going. So I do solo shows with a concentration on a singer-songwriter style, with just me and my acoustic guitar. So I do about 30 to 45 minute sets typically on that. And now I've got a full 4-piece band, and we do a hybrid mixture of covers that do sound similar to Shattered and those type of songs, but where I don't have enough material to fill the whole night. So we've brought in, certain covers that are kind of a little bit obscure and things that we put our own twist on to keep it original. And that's, so I'm doing both. So that gives me quite a few options, and the ability to go and do a 3-hour show somewhere if we need to. So just keep an eye on my social media. I'll be advertising all the shows coming up.
Absolutely brilliant. So joining us live is Kris Anders, and how did we get here? Releasing it to the world. Finally, 3,311. Yes, 3311 requests to date since we've been playing it. You're right here at Galaxy. It's hot in here. Wow. It really is hot. 27 degrees.
Yeah.
Just need one more and we're there. I'm going to beat you. Sorry, Kris.
It hasn't warmed up here yet. We just finished our ski season last weekend, so.
Okay, well,
Oh,
down the
no.
bottom of the South Island.
you
It
in
has
for
actually
May.
been snowing over the last
But
week
I'll
or so.
ask Chris if he'd like to
Do you know much about
collaborate
New
with
Zealand?
you.
Not a whole lot. I mean, it's been in the news more than probably it should be with the COVID response, because of that's been more prominent than anything else. So,
Yeah. Did you notice? Did you notice we've got a sexy Prime Minister?
Yes, we've noticed.
Thank God.
It's varied in her popularity now, right? It's gone up and down. So.
Well, I tell you what, all she tried to do was save people's lives.
Yeah.
Bugger. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
if you had a few hardships because your life is being saved, get a life.
Yeah.
Really. At the end of the day, that's all it was trying to save people's lives. But, you know, some people wanted to protest about having their lives saved, so okay. We don't mind you exercising the right to be wrong!
Hey, goodness. Hi, Johnny.
You
Hi,
know,
everyone.
we want you in the world.
Magello, I'll work out a date for you.
But I do know Lord of the Rings was all filmed there, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Peter Jackson. I can't call him sir. I went to university with Peter Jackson.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Right, and in fact, I did a little bit of sound in some of his trial movies back in the day in university.
Early days.
Some of them, believe me, they hit that floor, you know, harder than a pair of knives could, you know, cut the bloody things off. They were useless, but he got better and better and better. Now he's one of the richest men in the country.
Yeah.
And I know why. As I said, I went to university with him. He would never buy a beer, but he doesn't mind drinking somebody's. Cheap ass. He was.
Beer was cheap, probably, too, right?
Yeah, well, we were students.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd just all chip in and buy a keg. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was the easiest way to do it. Tony Coulter, thank the Canadian truckers for waking up the world.
Galaxy.
You know, I've enjoyed staying in the Okanagans today. I really, really have. Normally I'm, you know, one country, another country, whatever. But today, just down the road, of course, we were talking to Moving Lines earlier on. And right now, talking to Kris Anders. And Kris, it has been an absolute pleasure meeting you and playing your music here at Galaxy. And believe me, you are getting a huge following here. Are we looking at anything new in the near future?
Yeah, absolutely. I've got another song I want to release. We're just working through the mechanical license portion of that. It's a song that was on a movie. It's not well known, but it's something that was in my repertoire for years and years. And I just love the song so much. I thought that would be a great one to send out there and sort of show off some of my vocal range. And then we're looking here in the late spring, early summer at finishing up the EP with 3 more songs in the studio. My live shows, you'll be hearing those probably before you hear them on the radio or any of the platforms. But those definitely in the works coming up. We're just making those arrangements to get in, do some scratch tracks, scratch vocals. I'm thinking May and June, and then hopefully we'll have a new single ready to go by the end of summer and into fall.
So, Kris, will you come back again? Will you help us release new music for you?
Absolutely, yeah. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I'm so thankful that you guys are playing my songs. Who wouldn't be? It's incredible.
It is an absolute pleasure, and I'm very, very humbled to meet you. I really, really am. Love your work. As an engineer, I'm loving every bit of it. And I don't listen to music as a fan would listen to it. I listen to it as an engineer, as a DJ, as a salesperson even. I break it down in its increments. Try and find the faults. Literally, I want to find out what my competition is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And I can't beat this work. I absolutely think that you are a talented artist and are on the precipice of making it big in the world. I really think that the right people need to get behind you, get you up that ladder. Secondly, the people that you're doing your work with, who's recording you, who's mastering you, stay with them. They are doing so good for you. Really, they are. So believe me, get that relationship and cement it. In the meantime, we are going to have to move on, Kris, but please don't go anywhere just yet, because we do a few things after this, and I want to talk to you about a magazine as well. So in the meantime, you're right here at Galaxy 107 FM, and I want to let you know how very proud we are to be in association with Rise Up TV, Big Record, and of course Sony Music, The Orchard. You're right here at Galaxy. Check this out.
Another indie artist interview brought to you by Galaxy 107 FM in association with Rise Up TV, Big Record, and Sony Music The Orchard.